Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Oh Hell No. Today we have Unique Walker. She is an entrepreneur and she has a business called The T-Shirt University. Welcome, Unique.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm so excited to speak to you. So the thing that made me want to interview you is I saw a post that you had up that said, I lost everything and used T-shirts and the internet to rebuild my life. And that was just like, wow, for me. So that really caught my attention. And I just wanted to hear your story and have you share your story with, because all stories are inspiring, right? So
Absolutely.
I want to start by asking you, I actually ask everybody this sometimes, but what did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were a little girl or whatever? Did you have anything that you wanted to do?
That's a really good question. I've never had anyone ask me that before. Wow. What did I want to be when I was growing up? You know, I can't really say. I wasn't a good student in school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get really good grades.
Okay.
I had really low self-esteem coming up in school. My parents had died when I was really young.
Wow.
So I had a lot of conflict as a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what do you want to be when you grow up was, like, the furthest things probably from my mind because I had gone through, like, tragedy and experience after experience after experience. So I really never, fantasized or, really thought deep about what I wanted to do with my life. That was a really good question.
Wow.
I never thought about that when I was a kid. I never thought about, like, what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I never thought about that.
Okay.
I never thought about that. Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. When did you actually sit down and say, what am I going to do with my life? Something has to change. What am I going to do? When did that moment happen for you?
Yeah. So in high school, I started working at the age of maybe 15, like having a summer job and, 15, 16, 17. I ended up working for a restaurant that was a family-owned restaurant here in Maryland. I live in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And so I ended up working for entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved the fact that I was just, like, amazed at the fact that there was a father who, his name was Mr. Levi. Shout out to Mr. Levi. He passed away. But he had several restaurants in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
He hired me to, like, be a food server, and then I was in high school, but then he made me a cashier. And I was, like, one of the only teenage people that he allowed to be a cashier. And then he allowed me to work in his office as, like, a catering manager to the assistant to the catering manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved watching the fact that he was his own boss. He worked for himself. His children worked for him. His daughter and his son basically each ran a restaurant. And then I also had an aunt. Her name was Aunt Frances. She was an entrepreneur, too. And I had an uncle who was an entrepreneur. And so when I was about 17, I was introduced to entrepreneurship.
Okay.
I always knew that I had family members that were entrepreneurs, my Uncle Greg
Mm-hmm.
and my Aunt Frances, but I didn't necessarily know what that meant, until, my mind was mature enough to know, like, oh, entrepreneurship means that they work for themselves. And so right out of high school, I started working for myself. I owned a nanny agency. I was the first African-American owned agency in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia to be licensed, bonded, and insured. And I was like maybe 22 years old.
Wow.
And so I knew with watching them, and I had learned a little bit from just watching them. They never mentored me one-on-one, but I just had a front row seat to, watching them operate their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember starting my first business, which was called Unique Home Healthcare, where I staffed nannies, nurses for children with special needs and elderly people. And I remember hiring people that were older than me. And I realized, like, oh, I can actually make money being an entrepreneur and make money off of other people being employed by me. And so around 17 was when I realized that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And, I started there.
So after your unique home healthcare business, how long did you operate that business, and what happened, during the course of that business?
Right. So I operated that business for about 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate was booming here in this area, and it seemed like the town was just flooded with money. And so people had nannies. I was introducing customers to the fact that they could have a nanny. So I put ads in. I hired a marketing team. Shout out to Gina and Angela,
Mm-hmm.
who was they were called Marketing Sense. And they had me in like a kids directory and all of these different places where I could market my business. And we were basically introducing certain areas in PG County, especially, to the fact that they could have nannies, like some of the upper, areas did.
Right.
And real estate was booming. Everyone had money. It was affordable. The cost of living was a little bit different. So, you could pay your employees, at a certain rate.
Mm-hmm.
And so when real estate tanked is when I had to close down that company.
Okay.
And I ended up closing down that company, and then I went into the food industry. My husband and I opened up an Oh So Good eatery, and then I took over MLK Deli, which was my uncle's business, who I had admired as a teenager. The place that I actually used to go to eat, and I admired the fact that he owned that place. I ended up running that place as well. So it was just like one thing, left the nanny agency and went into, but during the nanny agency days, I also had a T-shirt line called God and Me Cottons, but there was no social media. There was nothing. I used to just go to, Christian conferences and stuff just locally,
Mm-hmm.
And sell my shirts.
So, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
And so, I ran Unique Home Healthcare and God and Me Cottons around at the same time.
Oh, wow. So it seems like you always were able to, catch on to the next thing and, just learn and create something new and do something different. So when you said I lost everything, what was that, when the real estate market tanked and then you had to give up your business and kind of start all over again in the food industry?
No.
Okay.
So that's another story. So one of the things that God has blessed me with is the gift to reinvent myself.
Yes.
And in 2012, while I was in the food industry,
Mm-hmm.
my husband was sentenced to prison.
Okay.
And that's when I had lost everything. The things that I did not lose, I gave up.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2012, my husband was sentenced to a federal prison sentence. And, I had to give up the stores. I had, everything basically went with him. And so I had to start completely over. The nanny agency was gone. That had been gone. The food, I walked into the food store one day, and I just heard God say, close the doors. And I'm like, okay, but what am I going to do? Because I have 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I know that I hear you're saying close these doors. And the store had just become a headache for me. It was hard to operate without my husband.
Right.
And so I closed the doors. And I remember going home, and I had all of this material stuff, $60,000 in Chanel bags and all of this shoes and just a bunch of expensive stuff. And I remember thinking Bibles over bags. And before that, before my husband went to prison, I had developed a reality show concept called Kingdom Chicks.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we were shopping that show, I was signed to Queen Latifah's Flavor Unit, and Bibles Over Bags came after my husband went to prison September the 11th. I signed a deal September 15th with Queen Latifah's production company. And so during that time, I saw all of this stuff, and I thought Bibles Over Bags, and I decided to print that on a T-shirt. And I knew how to print T-shirts because I had done that back in the day. And so, but now we had the internet, you know, there was the World Wide Web.
Yep.
There was social media. We had Facebook. We had Instagram. And, of course, at the time, I was casually on Instagram and Facebook just socially.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, everybody was on socially. We had not really adapted to the fact that this could be a marketplace.
Right.
And at that time is when, you know, everyone started to use social media as a marketplace. And so I mastered social media. And what I did was I put my story, the fact that I had lost everything and I had all of these material things, but yet a husband in prison, I added my story to my T-shirt, and literally the T-shirt went viral and I couldn't keep them.
Oh, wow.
And so people started asking me, like, you know, how did you get your T-shirt on VH1? How did you get on MTV? How did you get this celebrities, Tiny and Coco from SWV and Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child and all of these different people that had worn the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was spending time with women, helping them start T-shirt businesses, and I would follow them on social media, and I never saw them do anything with the information. And then people started copying me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to package up my intellectual properties, my experiences, my story into a digital course to sell the content that I had in my brain to help other women either create a full-time income printing T-shirts with a T-shirt print brand, like just teaching them 7 different ways how they could make money selling T-shirts, which led me to be a Forbes business coach, as well as now I have another digital program where I teach women how to sell their intellectual properties in a digital program.
Mm-hmm.
And so my story in that rock bottom season developed my purpose out of pain. And ultimately, I was able to use all of those tears, those late nights, those nights of not knowing what I was going to do. I was able to share those things with other women to teach them what to do.
That is so amazing. The part where you said that you were teaching women, how to make their own T-shirts, and then they weren't even doing it, blows my mind. Like, I just can't. And I mean, you were just doing this, like, that was before you started selling the information, right?
Yeah.
It
was one of the reasons why I started selling the information, because I realized that what you don't invest in, you don't take seriously. Mm-hmm. Even recently, I would give out 2 scholarships for my paid class. Mm-hmm. And the people that I would give the scholarships to, I would look on the system, they wouldn't even log on. And so I even stopped doing that because I realized that if you don't make a sacrifice for something, or if you don't have to make an investment, you don't appreciate it.
Right.
And so I've had people to say, you know, I'm a single mom, I'm going through this, that, or the third. And now, you know, I pray about giving away a class for free, or I don't care if I charge you $25. I want you to come up with that $25 so that you make an investment. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't make an investment, the things that you don't invest in, you just don't appreciate. But I would spend hours with people on the phone. They would inbox me, hey, Unique, how did you do this or that? And I would, show out the information. Then they wouldn't do anything with the information. And so I decided to just package my intellectual properties, which we all have supply for each other.
Mm-hmm.
We all have each other's answers in different areas. And what I realized was that I had the social proof because there were many celebrities that had worn the brand. The brand had been on television. I had made thousands of dollars. I've taken care of my kids. I rebuilt my life. I had everything that I needed to help someone else. And now I'm helping other women build communities of women and serve them over selling to them.
Wow. Now that is amazing. That is a major contribution to the world. I mean, honestly, you know what I'm saying? Because you're helping other people support themselves, take care of their children, and you're giving them a tool that, is invaluable. So now looking, yeah, for real. I mean, that's amazing. Now, what I want to ask you is now looking back, thinking about your childhood, thinking about all the trials and tribulations and everything that you've done and been through, can you pinpoint the one thing or the series of things in your life that prepared you for where you are today?
Whew, everything. Literally, every single thing that I have been through has been used in this season. In this season. Working with women. I've been working with women for the last 5 years through Kingdom Chicks for different things, or I also have a wife scope. The wife scope is for wives who want to ditch divorce. So I was just working with women all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I run into so many different scenarios, and I'm always able to pull from different times and seasons in my own life. And literally, where I understand like what the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it around for your good. Because every single thing that was supposed to destroy my purpose, I'm able to use. I mean, I even think like I wasn't a good student, but I'm a part of the Forbes Coaches Council. I was not I didn't graduate from college and probably couldn't have gotten into a college, but, I've been able to speak at places all over everywhere. People, call me and fly me places and pay me to come. And I'm always amazed. And that's not a dig or a brag, because I'm always amazed that, like, someone actually wants to hear what I have to say. And so it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how low you have been or how low you go. You can you can pull yourself out just with a willing spirit, Mm-hmm. And for me, I wanted to do better. I wanted better for my life even before I had children. But then once I have 2 children, I wanted better. My son is 18. He's in college. I have a 10-year-old son as well. And so my children became my why once I had children. And I believe that once your why becomes big enough, you'll find your how. You're going to get it done.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. That is amazing. I mean, and you know what else too? I always talk about this. Like sometimes when, you're doing something and someone else wants to do the same thing and you go to them and say, hey, how did you do this or whatever? They're kind of reluctant to give you the information because, so it's amazing that you are giving people the same thing that you're doing and you're still able to eat and continue on and be blessed. And that's something that people really need to understand and realize, that it's okay if we're all doing the same thing. We are all going to do it different, The one thing that I tell people, I've talked about this, I do a free training. I give out a lot of information on a free training as well. Mm-hmm. And I talked about this last Saturday where I said, you actually posted this, and I talked about it in a class where it's like, what if Rihanna didn't do a cosmetic line because everyone else did a cosmetic line? Mm-hmm. But I thought about the fact that Kylie Jenner has a cosmetic line that's set to be $1 billion cosmetic line 2020. Mm-hmm. Rihanna started later, but her company, Fenty Beauty, is still projected to be $1 billion company. However, the niche or niche markets were different, okay? Yep.
Callie's was about lipstick. Rihanna put out one lip gloss because I went and bought a lot of her products to support. She put out one lip gloss, and I love it. But she put out every shade of foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So they both had the same market, but the niche or the niche, however you want to pronounce it, was different.
Yep.
But yet they're still very popular. But both companies are going to be billion-dollar companies. And Rihanna started later.
Yep.
But it's going to be a billion-dollar company around the same time she's projected. So my whole thing when I'm talking to women, because women say all the time, everybody's selling T-shirts. Everybody's doing this or that. The one thing that there is no duplication of is you.
Right.
There's not another Unique. There's not another Nicole. There's not another you. And so the fact that God only made one of me and one of you, it could be someone else named Nicole or Unique, wherever, but they are not a carbon copy of you. So the way that you're going to do it is tailored and unique to who you are, and exactly who you are, your authentic self, not who you create yourself to be for Instagram. There is a market of people that are going to be attracted to you. I remember when I was like, okay, I'm coaching, but I can't sell lifestyle, meaning I'm not checking in and out of Neiman Marcus. I'm not, out all the time. I'm not taking a bunch of selfies. Basically, my life is working from home in yoga pants and flip-flops. And so I made yoga pants and flip-flops a part of my marketing strategy because there was a mom somewhere that just wanted to work from home in her yoga pants and flip-flops and didn't ever know what Neiman Marcus was.
Mm-hmm.
So my true authentic self in my true season where I was working from home in yoga. I can't tell you how many pair of yoga pants I have. People probably think that she has on yoga pants again today. I have a gazillion pair, okay? But I realized that there were women who wanted to make breakfast for their children, pack school lunch, be back home when their children got back home, and that for them was the lifestyle that they wanted. They didn't want the access. They didn't care about the material things. They wanted the freedom to raise their children. And so that was my true season. That was where I was at the exact time that I started doing it. And so I tell women all the time, you don't have to create something that you're not. You can be true to exactly who God created you to be in the exact season that you are in. And there is a group of people that are going to be attracted to exactly that.
Yes, that is so true. I agree. I think that is such great information that you're passing on to women all over. And working from home, that's a major thing. I mean, I can work from home sometimes because I have a full-time job, and I do this as well. And I would love to leave that and do only this, but
right.
Sometimes you can't, it takes time to get to where you're trying to go. So
absolutely,
there are a lot of women who, like you said, that's the only thing they want to do is just see their children off and take care of their kids and take care of home, but also bring some money into the household. So it's amazing what you're doing. Do you feel like you're living your purpose? Is there anything else that you feel you want to pursue in the near future or, the distant future?
I do feel like that I operate in my purpose. There are some new doors that are opening for me.
Mm-hmm.
And as they open, I'll walk in them, I do feel like I haven't really scratched the surface to what I'm going to do, but I feel like that I'm in the lane and in the direction in terms of helping women. Helping women help women is what I like to say. And so I feel like where I am is the lane, but I don't feel like I have completely scratched the surface for what I'm going to do.
Right. So I also want to ask you, what is your greatest lesson learned to date after all that you have been through?
Wow. My greatest lesson in business or in life?
Both. You can give me one for business and one for life.
Okay. In business, my greatest lesson in business has been that you can do things prematurely. I have done things prematurely. The reality show concept was done prematurely. I always like to tell women that I have learned to lay the foundation. Do not build something on quicksand. If the proper foundation, sometimes we go for the gusto before the proper foundation has been laid. So you go for the top when you haven't quite built the concrete that the top is supposed to be able to withstand on. And I have done those. I have done that. So in business, I believe that do not try to do something that you are not fully developed for. Just because it's a good idea and you have the idea in a season doesn't mean that it needs to be executed in that season. Some seasons are for preparation for the big project.
Right.
And a lot of times I see women, and I've done it myself, we go big, but the foundation was not properly built. And so it ends up being built on quicksand, and then the quicksand evaporates, and then the project is a flop.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so in life, my greatest lesson in life has been trust God. That I realized that God had been in my future before I ever got there. So today is Friday, but he's been in my Saturday. He's been in my Sunday. And so there is nothing that I'm going to face in my Saturday and my Sunday in the days that are ahead of me that are set up to kill me, because he has already been there before me. And so once I realized that, when my husband went to prison, it was the most scariest times. I married my high school sweetheart. We had always, been together. Most struggles we had endured together. And I found myself feeling like I was in a wilderness by myself with 2 children. But I realized that God had used these years, the last 5 years. It's been 5 years that he's been away, and he's still away. And that God had been in those days before I got there. So we never went hungry. We never were homeless, because every day, even the days that I did not know that what I was going to do, once I got to that day, those days were not set up to destroy me. Those days were set up to build me. And I feel like once we get that he has been in our tomorrow today, we can face tomorrow with full head-on, with full faith that tomorrow is not going to kill me, that I don't even need to be concerned about tomorrow. I just need to get through today.
Wow, that was really powerful. That was an amazing statement. Amazing. Seriously. So,
thank you.
I mean, you're like one of those people that if something doesn't happen for you, you can, after it's passed, you can look back and say, yeah, that wasn't right. Like even what you said about the quicksand and stuff. So that, a lot of people are trying to get to that place, because a lot of people stay in that, that quicksand that fell apart, because they were just so sure that that's what was supposed to be for them. But, like you said, it's just the preparation. So that is really amazing.
Preparation. I remember having a hard time letting the Kingdom Chicks reality show concept go. And, sometimes when you put a lot into something and you're sure that it's supposed to be the thing that launches you or whatever into a deep, you put full confidence in it. And it doesn't mean that it won't come back around, or it doesn't mean that God is not going to use it, but it just means that it just wasn't time. And when I think about when I put that out in 2012 and we were shopping, the networks were being shopped, my husband went to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that time would have been filmed, it possibly would have been an embarrassment and something that could have ruined me, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so sometimes we cry over the closed doors when the closed doors were the very protection that God used to protect you. Because it's like this door needs to be slammed closed,
Mm-hmm.
because if you walk through this door, what's going to be seen is something that's going to be embarrassment, humiliation, and you're not going to, I know you, daughter, it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to recover from easily. You will recover because you're my kid, but I don't want to take you through that, so let me close this door. So just learning how to be content with the closed door, move on, and find the door that you're supposed to walk through.
Yes. Amen to that. Well, your story is very powerful and very amazing, and I'm so glad that you were able to share it with me today and all the listeners. I'm sure they're going to enjoy this podcast. So where can we shop your T-shirts and find out about your classes? Because I'm definitely taking a class, girl.
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram at the T-Shirt University. Also, Kingdom Chicks is on Instagram as well. I also just started a personal Instagram, Unique Casey Walker. The T-Shirt University is online at the T-Shirt University. Share Your Blueprint is an online community on Facebook. And so you can also go to Share Your Blueprint on Facebook and join my private group. I also have another private group. One of the things that I believe in is building a community. And so my communities, I have those Instagram accounts, but my private communities are on Facebook. Fashion Gigs for Gals, which is for T-Shirt University. And then Share Your Blueprint is online communities where I hang out, I go live, and I basically have built a community for the market of people that I'm serving.
Nice.
So those are the best places to reach me. You can also email me at uniquewalker@shareyourblueprint.com.
Okay, and guys, that's UNIQUEWALKER. So just in case you don't know how to spell unique, I'm not judging, I'm just saying.
Thank you.
So before I let you go, I ask all my guests this. I need to know, what was your oh hell no moment of the week? Did you have one this week?
Hell no. What was my oh hell no moment this week? What was that this week? That's a good. I love your questions, Nicole.
Thank you.
My oh hell no moment this week was last night. This can happen. I was doing a free training and the audio was out on the webinar, and I was like, oh hell no.
That is definitely an oh hell no moment.
Yes.
You don't want any audio problems.
Last night.
Oh man. Did you get it back up?
I did, but I ended up just, closing it out, and I sent out a replay, which was fine, and I was completely okay with it, and it ended up working out fine. Really, when those things happen, I realized that God was like, you need to rest. Some things are not about, the enemy is trying to stop you or anything like that. Some things are just technical. It was just technical, but God used it to say, go to bed. Mm-hmm. You have worked enough for today.
That's awesome. I love the way you think. So again, thank you so much, Unique. I will definitely be in touch, and take care of yourself, girl.
Yeah. Thank you.